Okay, so I'm finally at the end of the Leprechaun franchise, and of course, this is the latest entry in the franchise. It's 2018's Leprechaun Returns. I didn't know whether to put 2018 or 2019 because in 2018 it came out on VOD, and that's when I first saw it. And then in 2019, it came out on St. Patrick's Day for the Sci-Fi Channel. So I'm just gonna put 2018, I guess. So this movie is directed by Stephen Kostansky, which I believe he directed the movie The Void, which I did like the movie. It's not the best. It's kind of like a Lovecraftian kind of movie. The thing I really did enjoy about The Void was the special effects work, and I think that's why they mainly hired him, was to do the special effects work in this movie. But yeah. Anyways, the only thing I didn't really like in The Void was the characters. They weren't that well developed. But anyways, let me get back into it. The movie stars Taylor Spritler as Lila. I have trouble saying names, so sorry. Pepe or Pepe, Pepe. Oh my God. Songwa as Katie, Say Bennett as Rose, Lyndon Porco as the Leprechaun, Emily Reed as Meredith. I'm sorry. Mark Holton as Ozzy, Ben McGregor as Andy, and Oliver Jenkins as Matt. And okay, and the woman that does Jennifer Aniston's voice in this movie is Heather McDonald, which I thought before it was actually Jennifer Aniston, but I didn't think they would try to get her back to do a cameo in this anyways. But okay, so the basic plot of this one is it kind of does what Texas Chainsaw 3D did and the last year's Halloween reboot did, which it's supposed to be. This is, I guess, the only direct sequel in the franchise. It's a direct sequel to the first movie. It takes place 25 years later, and the only character that's reoccurring is Ozzy, because I guess that's the only one they could get. But this movie, like I said, this movie takes place 25 years later, and it follows a group of sorority girls that are trying to rebuild the house from the first movie. Well, they're trying to turn it green and live off the grid. It's the same house from the first movie, and one of the girls is actually Tori Redden's daughter. And but yeah, they get there. A bunch of things something happens to Ozzy's character, and it releases the leprechaun, and the leprechaun's back hunting for his gold, and he, of course, in typical leprechaun fashion, he kills them off one by one. The girls in the sorority house, one by one. I was kind of apprehensive when I saw this one, mainly because it was done by the Sci-Fi Channel. And I know, they make bad movies, and that's what they're most famous for. And I know some people like them bad movies they make, but to me, I just don't like them. But I was actually surprised by this one because I didn't think they would take it seriously. Like I think, like they paid so much attention to the details from the first movie. Like they actually made it fit pretty well with the events from the first movie to this. I also like the replacement for Warwick Davis. They got Lyndon Porco. His voice is a little bit high pitched, more high pitched than Warwick Davis, but after a while, I got used to it, and I really enjoyed his performance in this movie. I even like how, sorry, I even like how the Leprechaun looks more demonic in this one too. Uh, at least they were able to get one actor back from the original movie, which is Mark Holton, who plays Ozzy. He played Ozzy in the original, and he is the reason why the Leprechaun comes back. I mean, there's some like things that doesn't make kind of sense, like because how he comes back is that, remember in the first movie, Ozzy swallowed that gold coin. So when he goes back to the house, he loses a cell phone because he drops the girl off, and he comes back to get his cell phone because he forgot it there. But he's looking in the well, and like this green stuff, like liquid, pops up and goes all over, or splashes up and goes all over his face. And he's driving back, and he's having stomach pains, and he looks down and he sees like something trying to push out of his stomach, and he goes into the woods and he coughs up a 4-leaf clover. And I don't know if he like had one to keep the leprechaun in there, or not the leprechaun. Maybe it was from the leprechaun, but I meant to keep the gold. I don't know, keep the gold coins safe. But I think it was from the leprechaun now. But he coughs up a 4-leaf clover, and then the leprechaun bursts out of the stomach, and it's like this really nasty, gory scene. And it was a great gore scene, and then that's how the leprechaun comes back. And I mean, it's probably nonsensical, but I mean, in 4, the leprechaun comes back through someone's penis, so it's not that weird. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of unrealistic that the house from the first movie would probably still be standing in somewhat good shape, but, I mean, whatever. It's movie logic. Now, the characters, they're kind of your typical slasher movie characters, like, you got like the bitchy drunk girl that just makes fun of everybody and is irresponsible. You got one girl that's like very uptight and nerdy, and she's like very meticulous about how she wants things done. You also have Tori, not Tori, but Lila's character, who is is going to be the final girl because she was related to one of the characters in the first movie. She's kind of the loner, and she gets made fun of, but she jokes about a lot of stuff. They got the one girl named Katie. She's I don't know what she's nerdy, but she sleeps around, and she's always has this trouble relationship with this one guy named Andy, and they keep going. They like each other, they don't like each other, kind of thing. I don't know if she really sleeps around, but she just has that troubled relationship with her her ex. Yeah, but I mean, it's just like typical horror movie characters, or I forgot, Andy's like the typical jockey douchebag type, and Matt's like this not horror, film nerd, film buff, and that's it. And yeah, they're just typical horror movie characters. But but after a while, they kind of like, because they don't get that annoying after a while. Yeah, I don't know why I'm stopping now. Okay. But this movie uses a lot of humor too, which I did laugh at most of the jokes in it. Now, like, some of them I know people are like, oh, that's dated. Um, he throws a hammer at someone and hits them in the chest, and he goes, ooh, it's hammer time. And they say, oh my god, and some people are like, that is so dated, like, no one would understand that. And I'm like, the Leprechaun comes from the fucking 90s, like, of course he's gonna know 90s culture and all that. So I don't understand why people are mad about that. And like he's talking to this one girl, and she's trying to take a picture with him on her cell phone, and he goes, oh, it's a camera and a Walkman in one. And she goes, what's a Walkman? Which I don't know. She didn't seem like it seemed like she would know what a Walkman is because she didn't look that old or that young. I mean, but yeah. Now some of the other jokes kind of got annoying at the end. Like there's a lot of economic jokes and green jokes, like green like environmental jokes that just weren't that funny to me. Like she's like, it's not my fault you can't keep control of your gold. Keep control of your gold. Maybe you should be more fiscally responsible. And then the leprechaun says like he's on fire, and he said, "What? Why would people say there's no such thing as global warming?" Oh, he goes, "Oh, and people say there's no such thing as global warming." And there's like one where he's splits up into like little individual leprechauns, and he says something like, "You know what would be good for environment population control." And then there's another one that people kept going on about, whereas he gets his head knocked off, and then the girl and he goes, "Oh, you give good head," and people were bitching about that one, but I'm like, it's okay, like whatever. It was better than the environment and the economic jokes. But yeah, the humor, the uh the gore was pretty good in this one. I thought for a sci-fi channel movie that they were gonna pull back on the gore, but no. Ozzy's death scene was very gory. Um, there's a guy who gets split in half by a solar panel, and you see like his guts and everything later on. And then there's like a few times, like one time a character get like for some reason she trips and falls on his body that's split in half. And she's like playing around the blood and the guts, and then that was pretty gross. Um, what was the other one? One girl, she gets like a statue or something. It's like a statue of a little gardening shovel. I forgot what it's called, but she has a little statue of it, and she trips, and it smacks her. It goes right through her head, and it's very bloody. Um, one guy, he gets his throat cut, or he gets decapitated. I mean, by a drone. And I know people are like, that's not realistic. But I mean, come on, it's a movie about a freaking leprechaun, and you got a ghost in it too. Which I gotta mention the ghost of Ozzy. Now, I was kind of mad that they killed Mark Holton off really quick in the beginning. And I'm like, well, that's kind of a waste. You brought him back, and he's only in the movie for like, what, 10 minutes, and you kill him. But he, he comes back as a ghost later on to help Lila out of the basement because one of the characters locked her down there. So there's like his guts are hanging out, and so like Lila hands him some saran wrap, and he wraps it around himself, and then like he has to play charades with her because he can't talk, and he's trying to tell her like what happened in the first movie, how they defeated the leprechaun, and he's trying to show her where like the map is to the gold and all that, and I don't know, it was pretty funny scene. But he walks out, but there's this part where she's like, okay, Ozzy, you help me out. She's like, now can you help me out of this basement? And like he walks off and walks through a wall, and then she's like, Ghost Ozzy, come back here, I can't do that. It's like, I don't know, that scene was pretty funny. And also the beginning scene where like she's trying to get a ride into the house, and Ozzy pulls up, and he's like talking to her, and he's like, "Oh, I think I've seen you before." He's like, "But I'm not sure." And then he's like, "Oh, where are you going?" This and that. He's not being creepy. He's just being kind of weird, like being a nuisance. And so she's trying to find a cab so someone can pick her up. And then she's like searching for one online, and she clicks, and it's the only one that pops up is Ozzy, and she calls it, and then his phone rings, and he goes, "Oh, this is Ozzy's taxi service," and then she goes, "Yeah, I need a ride." It was just funny how it's played out, and then yeah, it's a pretty good movie. Like, it's your typical kind of slasher movie. Like I said, the characters are just kind of one note characters. They just filled their parts. The story is pretty good with connecting to the first movie. Like, it has references. I don't know if it's in the first movie, but I know in the second movie, one of the ways to keep the leprechaun at bay is with wrought iron, and they use that in this movie. Also, like the shoes, he don't shine the shoes in this one, but she throws shoes at him and he puts them back, and just they kept with the leprechaun's lore that if you steal his pot of gold, like he's gonna come after you. Um, and yeah, I think they kept pretty well with connections to the first movie. I know this is kind of rambling review. I don't know why I got sidetracked, but I would highly recommend this movie. I thought it was a very fun movie. The first time I seen it and the second time, I think it was a return of form to the franchise. We're back to the comedic Leprechaun now, and uh, Lyndon Porco is a good replacement for Warwick Davis. If they ever do another movie, I want him back as the Leprechaun. Lyndon Porco, I mean. But anyways, that's my review.